Hey Frank, I heard that if I rent my property, I'm going to become a millionaire because there's so many tax loopholes and all sorts of different gain ideas, and that's what all the rich do, right? Well, we'll talk through a couple things and make sure that you're aware of them before you go down that rabbit hole. Welcome to those that are returning and those that are new. This is Frank Finance, where you can get honest financial information and your questions answered. Today's discussion is going to be like we've done before. We'll open up an Excel sheet and walk through three tranches of rental versus selling your mortgage and put it in the market. And as we walk through it, what you're going to notice is that those three tranches are going to be, first and foremost, what is the income versus the expenses? So what can you consider? And secondly, it's going to be looking at the net worth of the property versus the net worth of if you were to put the money in the market. And then thirdly, it's going to be the full build up where it's going to be net worth plus rental. And what does that look like? All right, let's get to it. All right, before we get started, if you enjoy the content, please remember to like, subscribe, and comment below if there's other things you'd like to hear. And always, this spreadsheet will be available to you for free in my Discord link below in hashtag finance files. So keep that in mind if you'd like to come in here and maybe make this more customized to yourself. So let's get started here. So this is a 10-year look, and this is more short-term consideration on rental property. Long-term, it's always going to make sense to rent your property if you can sustain it over multiple, like 30 years or more. Now, when you're thinking short-term in 10 years, this is more of the kind of that black hole to discuss here. So let's talk through how you build up your rental income, hopefully income. So I went through and started with income at $1,750 on this property. What I did is I went out and looked at Craigslist. I went and looked out at Facebook Marketplace, all those areas that are selling rental property, and what are they trying to sell it for, and what does it include and what it doesn't. And so I came close to anywhere between 1,500 and 2,000 for this, so I'm just using the average. And so that is stagnant, and then I increase each year by 2%, let's say. Let's talk about the expenses next here. So from a mortgage standpoint, pretty easy. You already know what your mortgage is if you already have one. If not, it's zero. From a taxes and insurance standpoint, for the most part, it's pretty easy again to find your taxes that you already pay and the insurance you already have out there. You would want to talk with your insurance to make sure that they're aware that you would be renting and what would it change your policy. From a management fee perspective, this is one of those areas that if you were to actually want to manage it yourself, you could eliminate this expense and hopefully, maybe it's easier to rent your property. But if you were to actually rent it out, some different quotes I heard out there around 10% of your rental income on average. And so this is what this is. From a CapEx expense, this is your repairs, or if the roof needs to, be fixed, or if the furnace is going out, all that type of stuff, using 1/12 of the rental income. And this is probably one of those areas that's the most volatile. In 1 year, you might have to upgrade a furnace, but over the next 15 years, you won't have to. But mind you, if you were to upgrade your roof, or if you were to upgrade your furnace, or washer and dryer, it's going to add value to your house inherently. So it's not like it's completely lost cash. Vacancy, on the other hand, you're going to lose money on that. So you need to think about that from an expense standpoint. So if you were to say, after a tenant moves out, how long would it actually take you to fulfill that? Let's say it's 1 month. Then obviously you take 1/12 of your rental income and you'd want to build that into your expenses, because that would be the vacancy to fulfill 1 month's worth of an individual not there. These are the most common expenses to think about. Obviously, if you're going to include utilities of some sort or another, you would have to add that in there. But most of the time, in our state, those type of things are covered by the renter. So with this being said, this is the total buildup of the expenses, just nicely underneath the rental income, that we would anticipate $100 roughly of income per month, just over $1,200 annually. And another thing is, what I was just mentioning is, you definitely, as a landlord, would probably want to give the full cost structure to your renter. That's just, I wish more places did this, so this is my own personal opinion. So this is what I could expect my renter to pay if they were to move in here. Fully loaded would be about $2,200, and that would include their internet cable, their utilities, their electric, you name it, the whole 9 yards. Okay, so that's part one. We now know how roughly what we're going to make here in rental income over the course of 10 years. We've got about $26,000 is what this would make. And now let's move on to the next bucket, net worth analysis. So from a house perspective, we've got the mortgage coming in at 170,000 left. Over the course of 10 years, your renter would pay down your mortgage to 118,000 roughly, which would mean it would have a gain on the house of about 51,000 from where it's at today. And then from, if you were to say, okay, let's put this aside now, and let's think about if we were to put the money in the market. So this instance of this house where I'm using 230,000, and that means if my mortgage is worth 170 and you take out broker fees, that would mean that you would have, call it, about 56,000 in cash. And then what I'm doing over every year is I'm adding 5% compounding for dividends. So this would then land at 91,000 is what the value would be had we sold the property right away, just take the cash and put it in the market over 10 years. So let's build up and see what actually does it look like over 10 years on the rental analysis versus the cash into the market. So starting with the rental build up here first. So we've got house at 230,000, we've got a mortgage 118,000 remaining because they paid down your portion of your mortgage, which means the gains are 111,000 times using a standard tax rate for all passive incomes of 25% to land at a real estate value of 83,000. Now you got to include the rental income of 26,000 times the tax rate gives you a rental income of $19,000. When you add these two up, you get to 102,000 after 10 years. Now, if we were to put the money into the market, you have your basis of what you were to sell the house at, put it right in the market, 56,000. The ending value was 91,000. So that means you have gains of 35, and you obviously have to be taxed on the gains. So again, using that 25%. So the after-tax or ending value really is 83,000. It's your basis plus your gains less your tax. That gets you to 83,000. So as you can see here, it's about 20,000 lower than if you were to rent your property. All right, so what's the conclusion of the review today is that over 10 years does conclude that you will make more money renting your property than putting it into the market. But that does come with stress. So if you were to sell your property, it might make more sense to take that cash and put it on your new home or put it in the market, as it will yield nearly the same result over 10 years. Now, as you think of the long term, rental property does make more money when you're thinking over 30 years because the mortgage will go away and it just drops right to the bottom line. So keep that in mind. And this is also only an analysis over one property. If you have multiple properties, obviously magnifies everything we just talked about. So with that being said, if you're going to rent your personal home as you move into your next home, these are some things to think about, and hopefully they helped you make a decision or start thinking about different things. So with that being said, have a great rest of your day. Bye now.